What's going on, y'all? This is LECRAE. Welcome to my YouTube world. Come on. What's up, y'all? This is LECRAE, and right now, y'all are like experiencing this unfiltered restoration, beta-tested podcast where it's just gonna be real, baby. Y'all paid for it, and so y'all gonna get it. This is not us sugarcoating and half-stepping. This is the realest of the realest of the real. And speaking of real, if I was gonna get real, I had to start this off talking to my real friends, like people that I've known for over 20 years. I know you think I'm only 23, and I'll give you that, but I've been around this brother specifically. He was my roommate for a season right after college. He slept on my couch. He was an accountability partner. He was late on the rent at some points in time. We have done so many things together. This man is not only a phenomenal writer, a phenomenal, rapper, a musician. He can sing. He sings on his own stuff. His ideas, his ideation, like he's made classic material that I think sometimes people don't even give him the credit for. For him to stay relevant in this music industry for all these years is something that I do not think people recognize. Y'all, he is like one of my favorite people in the world. He's been my right-hand man for so many years, and I need y'all to give him the honor and the privilege and the respect that he deserves. Make some noise for my man Tedashii. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Put some respect on my name. No.
Hey, listen, but it's true.
Hey, I appreciate that.
Like, bro, to me, like, I think because of the space and the genre that we're in, a lot of the honor and the accolades will go overlooked. But bro, you helped shape a culture. You helped shape a genre in a sense, and personally, like, but Black Light, Identity Crisis, those are some of my favorite albums. Like, I'm picky as it pertains to music I want to listen to, especially by rappers talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
Those are two of my favorite projects, bro. So I just want to, you know what I mean? We got to make sure that, you know,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, we got to make sure,
That's what's up.
That's
what's
you know
up.
what I'm saying? So, so man, a lot of people know you as a part of historically like Reach Records. They know your music. They know what you have contributed from, from a distance.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't get to go behind the scenes. And so I want to, like let's go behind the scenes on some stuff a little bit. So let's just talk historically real quick. All right. So historically, let's talk about you coming into kind of like this whole Christian rap thing. Like, what was that initial season like for you? I remember, like, your first album, you rapping on my first album. Like, what have you seen? What was going on back then in terms of your perspective and what you was dealing with?
Yeah. Well, first off, shout out to everybody who is listening, who did say, you know what, I'm gonna take the time and the money to invest in this moment. I appreciate you.
These are real ones.
Everybody
watching this is a real one. So they genuinely care about what you're going to say right now.
Yeah. Man, I started doing music really because I had friends doing music.
Okay.
Although I know, we stand around and freestyle, we jump in ciphers, we go back and forth. At some moment, music to me was a hobby that turned into a pursuit. And a lot of that had to do with the people I was around. I grew up in Texas playing football, played football in high school and college. And so my dream was to play football, coach football, be around football, and just be in that world outside of anything that I ended up in. And so now getting where I am now, I look back on it and go, man, it really was because I was around the people who were enjoyable to be around. My talents and gifts naturally came out, but the other side of it was for real. I had friends who were great at this and was saying, come along with us.
Right. So you're in Texas. Texas is not the epicenter of hip hop music in terms of like, you know, at that point in time.
Nah.
And a lot of people don't know, we were kind of under, like we looked up to this group, for those who know, called Cross Movement out of Philly. You know what I mean? And how did people receive you? Like being a Southern rapper, you had a whole Southern situation, and then you're coming into the game where it's dominated by East Coast hip hop, and East Coast hip hop was bleeding into the Christian space. Like, how did you feel coming into that space?
I felt insecure.
Okay.
I felt overlooked. I felt unheard. And so, you know, you do what most people do when in Rome, do as the Romans. And so I tried to have more of a East Coast type flow. I even tried to fake
East Coast accents.
I even tried to fake. I was just about to say. I was even trying to fake an East Coast accent. I was trying to do whatever I could to make them take note of the talent, make them take note of the passion. And I feel like along the way, in doing that, I ended up finding myself, and not necessarily my voice, but myself in realizing whether those groups understand or get it. There is an entire world in the South who will get it. And so, man, I remember sitting around having conversations with you like, yo, where are the East Coast has their representatives and they sound quality East Coast artists. Where are the people like that in the South that we could resonate with for where we were in life at that time? And so, you know, you've always been one who can bring people in and lead them to a charge. And so you had that passion. You was like, yo, let's just do it. Right. And in my head, I was like, you can do that? We could just do it? And just so, man, we just jumped into it.
So you go from you embrace this whole Southern rap, which is who you are, kind of move into like, you're moving into this Christian rap space, right? And I mean, we kind of have similar trajectories, similar pathways. So you move into this Christian rap space, where we're real rap dudes. You know, we really love the culture, the art form of hip hop, and hip hop is kind of playing us to the left. A little bit of Christian hip hop is playing us to the left. We kind of get embraced because we got this whole Southern movement going. And then, like you end up as a premier, like we end up honestly, but you know, you as well end up as like a premier rapper in the contemporary Christian space, like predominantly white. Music space. How does that happen? And how do you feel in that space?
My first thought was like, how did this happen? Like what happened? Because I remember starting out, and it was, you know, it was your black summer camps, and it was your black youth groups and black outreach churches, black church outreaches. And then at some point it kind of morphed into this, when I look in the crowd, it's predominantly white kids. It's predominantly of a different hue than myself. I think two things. One is you got to think culturally, socially, hip hop was being more and more embraced overall. And if you are a person who grew up learning to embrace hip hop, but now you become a Christian, well, you're looking for it, but you're trying to look for it in a way that makes sense for who you are. And I feel like for us, it was kind of a right place, right time moment. But in addition to that, I do feel like, when I go to an NBA game, when I watch the game, part of it is I'm a fan of the team. Another part of it is I enjoy the sport. But a real big component of it that I don't think we talk about is I like watching athletes who can do things that I cannot do. Because it's impressive. It brings you in more. And so I think for most people, they enjoyed being a part of something or spectating something that was outside of what the normal world was, but they wanted a piece of it, a taste of it. They would never do it themselves. They would never jump in and be a part of it, but they wanted a taste of it. They wanted a piece of it, and so they would come and rock with it.
That's how I felt. I felt like we was like the Tim Tebow of rap music.
Okay.
That's how I kind of felt like. I felt like we was the Tim Tebow. Like Tim Tebow's a football player, but he's the Christian football. So it's like, oh, he's our guy. And I think people was like, yo, he's our guy in the Christian space. Because I remember us doing KAA, which is a predominantly black sports camp. Kids Across America, which sometimes is, you know, it's like, it looks like kids across I don't know what, because it has these weird connotations that make it seem like the broke camp. Okay, they get the leftover hand-me-downs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whole nother conversation for another time. Hopefully things will change there. But you're rapping at KAA and you're in front of all these young black kids and they loving you, and then you end up at Kanakuk, which is mostly white kids, which is crazy how segregated our world is, even in the Christian space, right?
Yeah.
So then you're embraced by the white kids, which is cool, you know what I'm saying? But it was like, oh wow, these are like really good rappers, and they love the Lord.
So they're ours.
So they're ours. You know what I'm saying? And we want to highlight them and flag them, which in a sense is great if the fundamentalism is great. It's just, but what is fundamental? Is love fundamental? What is the fundamental piece? And I think at that point in time, it was kind of like evangelicalism, and you were like a very evangelistic rapper.
Yeah.
And so that's what people loved about you. I remember you was calling out people like on your
Yeah, I was.
Which is like, it's cool, but at the same time, it's like
that's cool, but it was also naive.
Yeah.
It was a little insensitive, but at the same time, it was what you get when you have young people passionate and willing to try to find a way to make a statement.
Yeah. Shout out to Slim Thug. Tedashii called you out. Pretty heavily.
Pretty heavily.
You my dog, but I'm just saying, Tedashii called you out.
I did, man. I did, bro. And at the end of the day now, I'm like, Slim, one of the dopest people I see out there. So I'm like, hey, man, we all learn, we all grow.
Hey, Slim, you're a sinner, and Tedashii wants you to know you're a sinner in need of grace. And so, brother, you need to repent, okay?
Make it happen.
All right? So now,
Yo.
You feel me? If we fast forward, everything's going like, if anybody's following the trajectory in the timeline, you seem a little different now. Your perspective is a little different now. What has shaped that? Like what's the biggest difference between when did Black Light come out?
Black Light was in 2012.
12?
Yeah.
So from 2012 to 2020, Tedashii's different.
Yeah.
Why are you different? What is different about you? What is?
Sheesh. I think the two biggest things, because I could say 100 things.
Yeah.
The two biggest things to me, number one was pain and suffering.
Okay.
I think that shapes a lot of my story in these recent years. And then the other part of it is I totally started to lose myself for the sake of gaining something. And what I mean by that is I started to be around popular spaces, white spaces. I started to be around older spaces where I thought if those groups would embrace me, then I've made it. I've arrived. And I would kind of augment myself in order to kind of fit them spaces, only to later realize God didn't put me here to give someone a fake voice, but to give them my own. He gave me my voice, my purpose, my mission. Yeah. And so I fought to embrace that.
What do you like when you talk about pain and suffering? Like, what do you feel like? What happened?
Well, first off, anytime you lose a loved one, I lost in the matter of 3 years. I lost my stepmom, my little sister, and then my son Chase passed away. And so, just those three passing back to back to back was it was that Mike Tyson knockout blow. It laid me out, and I had to learn, and I'm still learning, but I had to learn how to climb back out of the pit that I felt I was knocked into. If we say as Christians, death, where is your sting? In a hopeful sense, knowing that one day death was defeated at the cross, but one day it'll be defeated ultimately. Then I'm like, yeah, I want that. I want to be able to say that. But in reality, death knocked the hell out of me and pushed me into a place where it only was grace and the people around me who helped me to pull myself back and claw back to a place of sanity. And so that shapes everything.
I don't think people understand that a lot of times. Like, I feel like people think, especially when you're a Christian, like all of it, like something crazy happens in your life, and then I think people just expect you to like say, well, God is in control and all. Like, I don't think, like, real trauma, like I tell like young cats, I say, when you're young, you're worried about like, marriage and masturbation. Guys anyway.
Yeah,
it's like,
guys.
what does it mean to be married? And I don't want to masturbate. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the type of stuff you're worried about. As you get older, you start death and divorce.
Yeah,
you know
bro.
what I'm saying? Those are the things that really like start to take hold and really like damage your perspective, your faith. And so you say death it knocked the hell out of you. When you say that, I mean, like, how does that tangibly look? What does that look like?
Yeah. That's good, because I don't think people are aware or willing to go there in a lot of ways. So I'm glad you said it that way. Plus, I know, man, one of the things that I'm gonna answer your question, but what rubs me so much the wrong way a lot of times is if somebody goes through something, they're quick, especially for a Christian, they're quick to dismiss it at the same time, assuming that'll equal more hope or more faith or more whatever, when the God of the universe can clearly see the pain and the agony you're in, and we don't take it to him. And so I grew up with that same thinking. It's like, I'm going through something, but the sooner I dismiss it or move or get over it, the better I will be. And in this moment, there was no getting over it. If anything, it was trying to find a way to survive what had happened. So my survival tactics, tangibly, was me trying to cope. And coping showed up in the form of food, it showed up in the form of fun, and it showed up in the form of anything that would please me in the moment. So drugs, alcohol, me trying to run to places to escape. So I would often leave home, go to another city, and I might be at the gun range, I might be in the movie theater, I might be at the bar. I don't know where I am, but I'm not trying to be who I was.
Hold on, let's just pause for a minute. Okay?
Yeah.
Tedashii just said, this is a Christian man. This man was a Christian. He loved the Lord. He loved the Lord God.
The Lord God.
And he said that he was running to drugs, alcohol, and guns. It helped because people's heads are exploding right now. Like, wait, Christians, is it possible?
This is gonna blow their mind. Then when I was sitting in my car crying and in prayer, I was like, "What the hell are you doing, God?" Like, it's gonna blow people's minds.
Oh man, it sounds a little too. It sounds like David in the Psalms. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
My goal is not for shock value. My goal is just really for people to, it's real, man. And I think if you don't connect with people on a real level, like I remember 2 phone calls. Oh no, I remember 1 phone call and 1 conversation. I remember the first phone call when you called me and told me that Chase passed, and it changed my whole world. Like I had never heard of, first of all, like any close friend passing away like that, and then a child of a close friend. So I don't know what I'm doing, let alone like how are you? I don't even know what I'm supposed to do in this moment. I'm in shock. Second conversation, I remember we had left Rikers Island. We just did a show at Rikers.
Yep.
You're sitting there at the bar, and you basically was like, dog, like why did God did this to me. Like you was basically saying like God is tripping. And I was like, hold up, buddy. Hold up.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off. My whole thing was just like, wow, people are tripping because this is what you was running to.
I don't say any of that for shock value. I don't say any of that to validate it or kind of highlight it in the sense that that's the cool thing or the important thing.
Yeah.
I say it because for a lot of people, we tend to take our pain and we press it down. Yep. And then if any of it kind of bubbles up, we try to cope. And our coping mechanisms are usually destructive instead of constructive. And especially for guys, the ones I know that I've seen deal with stuff like this, they dealt with it in destructive ways. Yeah. But those destructive ways satisfied in a way that it looked like it was going to work.
Right.
It looked like if I could just drink for the next hour, then my sadness that showed up will go away.
Right.
It looked like if I could be high for at least a day, like tomorrow might be a little better. It felt like if I could escape my real world, pretend to be someone else, when I showed back up, maybe my real world would be a little more manageable. But none of that crap is true. What ends up happening is that everything remains the same, but you are pushing yourself further into a pit. But this is me only knowing what I come from, only recognizing how we my family, in my community, in my culture, we only had certain tools and coping mechanisms to run to. We only knew how to deal with trauma and pain in certain ways.
Yeah.
And it was me doing what I had seen, what I really knew innately of myself. And then it was also me trying to reconcile, what does this matter in the face of a God who would let something like this happen?
Yeah.
So for that moment, God's word was out the window for me. I'm like, man, bump that, like, screw that. You weren't there. You didn't hold up your end of the bargain. And then on top of that, I'm like, well, when Uncle Junior was sad, I mean, he smoked an ounce. So let's go figure this out.
And truth be told, you already broke a lot of cycles. I mean, you already had ascended the hill as far as your family's concerned.
Yes.
And so you followed all the rules, you did all the right things, and
all of it.
And I still ended up in this dire situation.
Bruh, I followed the rules. I broke cycles from a physical, like, world standpoint. I'm like, yo, I'm one of the first to go to college, one of the first to graduate, not just go, but graduate. I'm one of the first to own my own business, have a career. Really, I might be the first to own my own business.
You was the first one of us to own a house.
Yes.
Tedashii had a house, and we was like, they got a house? Yes. How you get a house?
Yeah. And so I'm like, man, there's so much that I've seen happen tangibly in the real world, but then when you think of it spiritually, it's like, yo, God, I've been on these trips, I've talked to these people, did this work, did that work. Yeah. And so, right or wrong, I assumed, man, I'm gonna live my life and end it with a king's ransom. Everything will be as it should. Yeah. And that world got shook up.
So because I totally relate to it. Like, playing by the rules, you broke all the cycles. My daughter asked me last night, because we was having a conversation, and about, like, her knowing her mom's side of the family and not so much my side of the family. She knows my mom and, like, my sister. And I was saying I was almost gonna change my last name because I don't know, there's no real legacy with the Moore last name. It's just my pops. That's the only person that I know, and I don't really know him. And so my daughter was like, hey, did anybody in your, like, cause I don't know how the topic came up on divorce, but she was like, did anybody stay married? And I went through from my grandmother to every one of her children. Nobody was without divorce. And I was like, yo, I'm the first person to not get divorced. And then she was like, so I hope you don't get divorced, Daddy. And I was like, dag. Wow. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't even realize that's a cycle broken. You know what I'm saying? And the point I was trying to make in that is that if I did get divorced, I wouldn't feel as bad as probably people who grew up in this pristine, like, nice little situation, because I'm like, this is all I've ever known.
This is what we know.
Right. So the coping mechanisms is all you've ever known. And now, so it's not just the death of your child. You're also having to deal with being on. And not just on, because it's one thing to be a celebrity in the public eye and be on. It's another thing to be black in a white dominated space. And now you got to be a version of yourself that is not the full version of yourself. And I know the full version of you, this always shocks my white friends. They're like, wait, there's another version of you? And I'm like, yeah, we code switch. You know what I'm saying? You got to kind of turn off one version of you, because it's like, I don't know if you can handle all of this.
I don't know if you're ready. I don't know if you're ready.
But so you turn off a particular version of yourself.
Yeah. But
then even I know you, and there's a version of you that I don't even know, because one, you're mixed. You're half Samoan, half black. So, and then you're 100% country. So Tedashii told me one time, I was like yesterday years old, and this man told me that he used to, what'd you say, wrestle cows?
Hey, yeah, bro, you ain't never hog-tied a pig? You ain't never, like, roped the calf and tried to tie it?
You know somebody for 20 years, you don't know him for real. You see what I'm saying? This man was hog-tying stuff.
Bro, like, growing up, I grew up in the country, and we would go, I grew up outside of Houston, and we would go to rodeos. I didn't realize until I moved away that rodeos wasn't a thing for people. Yeah, and people might not know this. I'm like, the early settlers, like when people went west, that wasn't like, sharp jawlined white men. That was black men. That was Hispanic men. That was Native Americans. That wasn't just the John Waynes of the world. And so black people own that, especially in Texas. They take pride in the fact that there were black cowboys who have a legacy in Texas. So every year we'd go to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Every year we had trail rides. Every year we do rodeo. So part of the rodeo was
Black Cowboys stand up one time. Make some noise one time, all the Black Cowboys out there. You feel me?
And all three of them stood up. But look, like, we would go to rodeos and jump in the pen, and the first kid to catch this or the first kid to do this got money. And I was like, okay, money involved, I'm doing it. It wasn't just a random, I'm so country, I gotta go in there and get in the mud. It's like, nah, it's $100 on the line. I'm gonna go wrestle this pig.
If it was $1,000 on the line,
you wouldn't do
I'm
it?
not jumping in
Whatever. I'm like, give me the money.
You're different.
Yep.
That's my point.
But it did look fun. I ain't gonna lie, it did look fun.
You are built different, brother.
But
how many Samoan black cattle, cow, what is it, pig tying people do you know? You are one of one.
Hog time. You got a hog time.
I promise you, are one of one.
So what you do, you run. When you run, you got, see, the worst part about doing the pig joint is they'd always spray it down with water, so it's muddy. So you're in there slipping and sliding in the mud, but you got to get to the pig. But when a pig gets muddy, it gets more slippery. Like when it's normal and dry, it's just like your skin. It's just,
this is real right now.
And so you run in, you dive on it, and it runs away. So you have to corner it, and then you have to read where it's gonna go, like football. And then when you grab it,
no, it's not like football.
It is like football.
It's the only thing similar is a pig skin. That's the only similarity.
Look, man, it's football. It's the same thing. So when you dive in and grab it, you not only grabbing the body, but you grabbing a leg or something like that. And so once you do it, then you just flip it over, put the legs together, circle them up, then you tie them in between, and then you're done. When you walk into a room and you're the only one of you tend to take notice of that and respond to it in a way that is necessary for your own sanity. Mm-hmm. Some people go in and they embellish what they are in order to get a sense of response or acceptance or visibility. Being introverted, I more so kind of tucked away everything to kind of stand off to the side so I wouldn't be bothered, but also so I could read the room and know what was needed in the moment, and then I would just step in and interject those things. What I didn't realize was when you first are introduced to someone and you show them that you enjoy or you are from or you have done these things, that's how they know you. So you either have to keep that facade up or you've got to grow the facade. For me, I had to grow the facade. It's like, well, that's one part of me. Here's another part of me. Well, that's one part of me. Here's another part of me. But the part of me that never looked visible in evangelical spaces, in the certain spaces of music we started to exist in, was black people who looked like where I came from, where I grew up. If anything, it would be, if some of my cousins showed up, I'd have to be like, hey, let's chill. Let's be at a 2 today. Let's not be at a 10. Let's be at a 2. And I'm even asking them to change themselves to walk into a space. The black side, really both sides.
Because the Samoans would bust a haka out, and what would be thought of if they did that?
My Samoan cousins ain't haka. They doing something different in there.
Okay, that was a little bit prejudiced to me. I think I was a little bit. I apologize.
You just assumed at every moment.
I love the haka though. I'm just saying.
He assumes at every moment the haka's gonna happen when a group of Samoans get together. It's just gonna happen out the blue.
Can you do it for us? Because I don't think they.
No, there's no group. There's no group. I'm not gonna do it by myself.
You know when they be like. You know that's the haka. I seen it in New Zealand. My bad.
Yo, I hope some Samoans corner you. And
they're my people, dog. I'm proximity. We cool.
Oh, that's real. Family. That's real. I give you that. I give you that.
You know what I'm saying? No, but I feel you.
So you go into a space, man, and you think, yo, I'm just gonna be myself, and then you realize, yo, this isn't my normal space. I can't be myself because I'm used to being myself in a particular space. So you try to read the room, fit the room, but as you do that, you realize that was supposed to be for that moment, not for a lifetime. Yeah. But you find yourself over a lifetime, weeks, months, years, decades, fitting the room instead of being who you are. Right. And then getting your world, here's where it really goes bad, when you try to make your real world fit that other world so that you can be more in that other world. And you find yourself outside of everything you once knew, only to then wake up and realize, yo, I've kind of gotten off the beaten path here.
That's funny So like one thing pops in my mind. Like I never thought about this before, but the way you kind of have to not be your full self because you're like, I don't know how this will be perceived or accepted. I thought about that because people think they know you, but then they don't know you're full you, right? And I remember I knew you was half Samoan, but I just really, my brain thought you was black. I just always just, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you black. Like Nori is Puerto Rican and black, but when he started doing the Spanish records, I was like, yo, this dude.
What is he?
Right. So I knew you was like half Samoan, but I don't, but I remember like when you was starting to wear, what's the rap? The lava rap. I'll be like, yo, what is you doing, B? Like, why you got a little skirt on? Like, what is you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like my brain was kind of, you know, like, yo, you black. What is you doing? And I think, it didn't really dawn on me till I think we was like at a McDonald's or somewhere in the West Coast.
Oh, you remember that? You remember
that? We was like at McDonald's on the West Coast. Yo, I kid you not. Like the Polynesian people got a thing like where it's a connection like something I ain't never seen. Like black people, we like, yeah, what's up, bro? I see you. Yeah, I see you in the corner. You know, it's like a community. Y'all got something special. We in a McDonald's. I don't eat McDonald's unless they pay me. So shout out if you. But anyway, we at McDonald's on the West Coast. I see these like a group of Polynesians. I don't know if they was Samoan or Tongan or something.
Samoan.
Samoan. They sitting in the corner chilling, and we walk in. He don't know them. They don't know him. All of a sudden, they hugging, talking like it's family. They gave this man money. They put money in his hand and sent him out the door. I was like, fam, they just gave you like $100 or something crazy.
It was $100.
I was like, wait, what kind of connection is this? So that's when it hit me like, oh, you different. Like you have another world I don't fully comprehend. What? Like what? Like
so in that moment, we were in Kansas City.
That's what it was.
And we went to McDonald's because it was the last thing available, sadly. Shout out to McDonald's. But we go in and the family's there, and I go, yo, I think they Polynesian. They look Samoan. So I go over and say hello. They speak back. Come to find out they are. And our families don't know each other, but they grew up around the same area. And so we get to talking. She's like, why are you there? And I tell her, like, here's what I'm doing. Here's what's going on. And she says, oh, well, we want to help and take care of you. And she gives me $100. But in reality, it's like there's such a family oriented mindset that you don't have to be blood for me to have care for you or to make sure you're okay. You come from the same soil I come from. So that's how that works.
And that's the uniqueness. So that doesn't exist Like what I've learned, especially with like my white friends, is like it's more of an individualistic culture. It's more like I'm me. I don't know, John Smith is pretty standard name. I guess it could be white or black, but I see a white guy in my mind.
Bartholomew. No, not too far. Too far.
Matt Jenkins.
Not Jenkins.
Whatever your name is. This is probably a white Matt Jenkins. Like, that's me, bro. What are you talking about?
Actually,
But John is like, hey, if a group of white guys are in a store acting up, he doesn't think, oh God, I'm so embarrassed. My people are acting a fool. But if you're black or you're Samoan or whatever, if you see a group of your kind acting up, you're like, shoot, what are
y'all doing?
Yeah.
What's going on with us?
Right.
My people.
That's what I think the difference is.
So recently I wrote this song, and one of the lyrics was I tipped the waiter good because they judge my people. And so to your point, I don't have this individualistic mentality when it comes to my culture, my ethnicity. I look at myself as a part of a whole, not symbiotically to where I know everything the other one's thinking and I can express what they feel without them even being there. But what I do feel is a sense of responsibility and obligation to a certain group of people because of where I come from, because of how I was raised, because of our shared experiences. And so I know firsthand that, oh, you stiffed him on the tip, oh, you just left $1, it's because y'all cheap. And it's a stereotype, but one that you get kind of labeled with enough that you go, yeah, let me go above and beyond to make sure it doesn't fit. And so, you know, and that comes from a person who used to work as a waiter, and I would hear people say like, that's how that brother did you. Hey man, we got to do better. And I'm just like, oh, that's a reality. Didn't realize that. And so you go into these worlds and you recognize I can't just pretend that I can throw off the upbringing I have, the place I come from, my experiences.
Right.
But it's weird to try to interject those, especially, and here's another side of it that you can think about, especially when livelihood is attached to it.
As a whole nother
element, bro.
I think this only typically happens in Christian spaces where folks say, hey, we're Christians, let's stop the division. But I would say we're always a kingdom inside of a nation. So we're all parts of a body, right? Like we're one body as Christians, but some of us are all arms. And that's just what it is. Like, it's like, yo, I'm an arm. Like, he's an arm, I'm an arm. We relate to being arms together. Like, it doesn't mean we're not a part of the same body. It just means that we're arms. And I think even American Christians say, well, we're all Americans. Like, that's your commonality. Yeah. You're all Americans. Okay, cool. We're all African Americans, or we're all Mexican Americans, and so we all recognize that common ethnicity, even though we're all in this whole one body and we're unified in that body. We're just recognizing our unique space in that. But
that's good,
bro. We could go on and on. I love talking like this with you, especially. These are kind of conversations we have on a regular basis. Probably a little, a little more longer, and we got hours and hours. But this is part one. So we're going to dig into part two because we got some more stuff we want to cover and some more stuff. I got some serious questions I want to ask you, and we're going to dig into, some stuff with Tedashii and David Crowder and my own personal theory on that. So stay tuned for part two.